Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the BB-Scho. Merry Christmas to all. We're here December 26th, day after Christmas, here to celebrate, some big wins and some big losses across the NFL. Reacting to Week 16. We are a day late, but hope you guys can understand it's Christmas Day. Busy with family, busy watching some good football. So, well, I guess there really wasn't good football yesterday,
Somewhat good football at
except for the
times.
first
Yeah.
game. But we'll get into it. But let's rewind a little bit. Thursday night football. We both picked the Jaguars to win this game against the Jets, and we both kind of cited. We said, one team's getting hot, one team's getting cold, and 19-3. I just, my biggest takeaway here is Zach Wilson in a few years' time, man, is going to be in the name with Ryan Leaf. He's going to be in the same breath as Jamarcus Russell. I mean, he's just a bad quarterback, man. I feel bad for the kid. I really do. It's so clear that he's not playing confident. He's so in his head.
No.
I think he's a better quarterback than what he's showing, but this is just what happens when guys, bust like that, are big busts, like when it comes to, pause, but when it comes to when it comes to guys like Josh Rosen or whatever, right? We consider them to be busts, but he doesn't have the expectations that Zach Wilson had when it comes with being number one, number two overall pick, right?
Right.
And he didn't get as much playing time as Zach Wilson had, right? I would argue that Josh Rosen, I don't know if he ever really got a fair shot because of what happened with Kyler Murray. Zach Wilson has had more than his fair share of chances. Ryan Leaf had more than his fair share of chances. Jamarcus Russell had more than his fair share of chances. And so goes down the list. But yeah, man, that Trevor Lawrence guy is clearly the better pick.
No, I would just piggyback real quick because, listen, when something's garbage, do a lot of people want to meditate or hover around it? No. So we'll try and move on this, whole subject as quickly as possible, but it needs to be addressed. Zach Wilson was quite literally the second, not quarterback taken for sure, but second guy taken in the draft from the Jets, who I believe from that pick 2 or 3 years had taken Sam Darnold, and we're watching Sam Darnold now. And I understand we'll get to the Panthers Lions.
I wish we'd been doing a podcast for 4 years because
right,
that is one
right.
take I have been saying about.
Yeah, and listen, I don't think he's this, almighty Patrick Mahomes, but he's clearly better than Zach Wilson. I would actually say I like Sam Darnold currently better than Mac Jones. I like him better than a decent amount of guys. It's just that I'm sorry, when you go from the Jets with Adam Gase, and then now you're with the Panthers, who can't even lock down a head coach, probably let alone coordinator. It's tough. It really is. For any quarterback, that's tough. And Sam Darnold has not only been, I don't want to say adequate because that's a little bit strong, but in terms of he's not in the bottom of the barrel. And when you look at Zach Wilson, this team has only gotten better. And for some reason, he's only gotten worse, which is kind of beyond me. I really thought
you're seeing
that he would take some sort of a step on Thursday. I didn't think they'd win, but I also didn't think it'd be 3 points and Chris Streveler's entering the game in the second half. I didn't think that was going to happen. Hey, and you know what? Yeah, the CFL legend,
played against him in college. So
yeah, it's cool. It's a cool story, but listen, he hit a guy in the middle of the field, some backup tight end, might have been Conklin or whoever, and the entire Jets crowd went nuts. And it's okay, so this is where the expectation is your fourth string guy coming in, throwing behind a dude and just completing the pass for 20 yards is a success for your offense. I understand Breece Hall is out. I understand they got a lot going on, but if this team just had, and not even adequate offense, literally just not bottom 30, if they're in the 20s, they'd still be fine. It's just we've seen a team that has been historically bad on offense. There's no way around it.
Yeah, I got two follow-up points. One, the Jets I think they could be a 10-win team if they have a better quarterback. They're that
Dan
good
Orlovsky.
everywhere.
Dan
Yeah.
Orlovsky. He
Okay.
called himself out. He was like, hey, I could lead that team to a playoffs. And Steve Nate was like, maybe you should stay in bounds. But
it's so bogus, man.
I
It's so
mean,
bogus because I actually kind of like Dan Orlovsky. He's a good commentator. He knows what he's talking about. He's got more experience than I do, but that was funny. But it's really true. I mean, if Mike White plays the whole year, they were 3-1 with Flacco, right? And then we had this lull. But the other thing too is I think this Jets team specifically to me has really proven the idea that you can't just draft a quarterback and expect your franchise to change, right? Like there's so much more to football than drafting a good quarterback. And there's this tier of franchises that have not been able to figure this out for like decades at this point, right? Like,
Brown, it'll still keep going.
The Bears, even, right? Like the Bears may have finally hit on a guy after all this time, but how much time have they wasted being so focused on one position when they got to the NFC Championship with Jay Cutler, right? So it's like, they got to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman. Like they are, like there's so many examples of teams like this where you can be successful. Look at the Chiefs, right? Like they elevated Alex Smith with a good roster, and then they went and found the guy they wanted to fit their system. And now they're perhaps the second best dynasty of my life. Actually, they probably are the second best dynasty of my lifetime in terms of division dominance. They only have one Super Bowl, so I can't call them a dynasty in that sense. But you get what I'm saying. The Jets, hopefully they've turned the leaf and figured out that they don't need a quarterback to win games, because this team, if they finish below 500, it's a tragedy, but they are ahead of schedule from where we would have thought they'd be at the start of the year.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there in the sense that they've hit kind of that Seattle Seahawks wall of things are not looking up.
Yeah.
They're going to finish the year. We know what this team can be, but we also understand what this team clearly needs. And it's a guy that can just manage the offense. I mean, you got so much talent. Breece Hall will be coming back, but like Garrett Wilson is a stud. It should not be that hard to get him the ball. If Mike White can do it, if Chris Streveler can do it, Joe Flacco can do it. You know what I mean? I think Jimmy G's on the market. I think the Jets have a lot of options in terms of what they're going to do for next season, how aggressive they want to be. But it's just something you got to look at, especially for a team that I'll be first to say, I thought the entire division, I was not shy about it. I was like, this whole division might get in. And at a certain time, that kind of looked realistic. It thought the Patriots might be the first out. It might be the Jets. And even if they both miss, that wouldn't shock me either. Both these teams, they got a lot of things they got to patch up in this next offseason. But more of the story is the Jags, they're probably going to get this done. I mean, if the Titans are losing to the Texans, you can't lose to really anybody much better. That is as low as it gets. Malik Willis, not going to say he's bust, because again, you got to give these guys time. And that's
Malik Willis was
a
project too. Coming
right.
We knew that.
Right. He was not the second overall pick. I believe he was a second round pick. Huge difference for those that are not, aware. But yeah. I like the idea of the Jags getting in. I don't know how much they're going to do. But who would you like to see before we move on? Because we've stayed way too long on these two teams that, quite frankly, whoever makes it is not going to make a whole lot of noise in the playoffs. But if you're a Jets fan or just an NFL GM, who would you like to be quarterbacking Jets next year? Because this team's not far off. They just need a guy that's going to maybe give them 17, 20 points a game. That's not hard to do.
You're not going to like my answer.
It's probably Jimmy G. It's probably somebody that...
It's not Jimmy G.
Jordan Love. If you say Aaron Rodgers, man, I mean, we can do the old Favre switcheroo. If the Jets will give us like Garrett Wilson, Mike White,
they're not going to do bunch of stuff. The Jets are going to give us money to get rid of his contract. However that would work. But look, it's probably not going to be Rodgers at this point. I think Rodgers is going to stay. That's where I think.
I'd hope.
I think it's where it's at. I would prefer to go with Love at this point, but we'll save the Packers talk for when we get to the game. I think Jimmy G would be a great fit. I think a guy, maybe even how many years does Kirk Cousins have left on his contract? I don't think he's going anywhere, but just like
a year or two. But would you think the Vikings would get rid of him?
He's 34, and that wall is coming. He's a great
They would
quarterback.
take a
He's
huge
probably having
step
the
back,
best year of his career. Yeah. I think they're more keen to probably draft a guy this year or next and try and pull the Chiefs. That's what I
right.
Anticipate. But maybe Derek Carr. Derek Carr. People have talked about that. But I think the guy that's most likely is Tom Brady.
Wow. If he goes to New York, man, I think the 49ers thing is lined up. I think that CMC
Shanahan
trade lined
I don't think
that
Shanahan wants him. I think he said no to him before. I think Shanahan wants control of his offense. And if you can win with a guy like Brock Purdy, why do you need to pay a guy like Tom Brady?
Which is also valid. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Seeing a longtime Patriot in the Jets uniform, that would I mean, it would hurt me, but Patriots fans are there to come after Brady and his kids. Nonetheless, it's a good win for the Jags. They're
going to do it, man. They're
probably going to pull it out. Yeah.
I said it, 2 weeks ago that it was possible, and now it's looking really like it.
You did.
I'm pretty sure that it basically comes down to the Week 18 matchup. No matter what happens this week, whoever wins.
Do they play the Titans again?
They play the Titans in Week 18, yeah. So whoever wins that game wins the whole division, no matter what happens this week. So
okay, that will make it.
Their only path end.
I will add, because it's back of my mind before we move on, just real quick. I believe around week 3 or 4, we did bring up the whole Joe Flacco thing. I was like, wouldn't it be funny if this was a quarterback controversy in the Big Apple? We do remember that, right?
I do remember you saying about that. You just didn't. We just didn't think it was
even myself. I was like, that's funny, but the odds of it happening, no way. But now here we are, and I think literally Mike White, Joe Flacco, or Chris Trevler is all better than Zach Wilson going into this next week.
I would agree.
Tough day. But, tough day for the Big Apple, but we can keep it rolling. Who's
Pivot.
next?
I don't have much. I don't have much to say. But Ravens, Falcons. Ravens moved to 10-5. They're I think clinched the playoffs if I believe with this win.
They should, yeah.
If they didn't,
and they get Lamar back, they haven't even. They
get Lamar back. They're looking good, but I'm just gonna be honest. It feels like the Falcons got to like week 12, week 13 or so, and just kind of decided that they didn't want to make a playoff push, and they would prefer to have a higher pick than fight for a wild card and maybe not make it. And put Desmond Ridder in there. They kind of just threw in the towel a little bit, and I don't think Ritter's looked horrible. He hasn't looked great or good by any means. Tyler Algier has really taken a step up. I don't know. I don't have much to say here other than I expected the Ravens to win this game for that reason. It feels like the Falcons are trying to lose.
Did you? Did you
pick
the Ravens?
I did pick the Ravens, yeah.
Okay. Go
check the receipts.
I knew I did. I knew I did because I love Tyler Money Huntley and listen, the Falcons, like you mentioned with Desmond Ridder, it's not like he's blowing the roofs off people like crazy good. Hasn't been Zach Wilson, Jamarcus Russell is bad. It's been the most like you can't knock it because he's playing for the Falcons, like all right performance.
Yeah.
No matter what he really does in these next 2 weeks, it's more of a we'll see you next year.
I just think it was,
and then we'll make a choice.
I just think it was clear that Mariota was better, and they just decided to go
for this
picked, and
absolutely
they just kind of said, all right, we'll come back next year. We're going to try and make some moves, right? Which is fair, they weren't a guarantee to win that division, so
yeah. No, for teams looking at run heavy team, you need a guy that's mobile.
The game that we both did not see coming, and you know what, man? In hindsight, so predictable. How did we not see this happening? The Panthers absolutely run it down the Lions' throats. 200 yards in the first half. I'm pretty sure they were close to 400 on the game,
Ah,
37-23. The Lions offense actually didn't have that bad of a day. Goff 355 and 3 touchdowns, but what we've
yeah, it's
said
usually not
all
their fault.
year is the Achilles heel of this Lions team. And for whatever reason, they really were playing well for about a 7 to 8 week stretch. But on paper, this defense is not that good. And
Oh,
we've
it's
said from
bad.
the
I mean,
very
on paper, it's
beginning of
bad.
the, we've said from the very beginning of the year, you don't even need to move Goff next year. Your offense is top 10 borderline, right? Like you don't need to move him. You
Yeah.
just need to take all your assets and go build the defense. And next year's the year. And then they made it. We all bought into the hype. They won 7 out of 8 or 6 out of 7, whatever it was. They were prime position to make the playoffs. And now they do what Detroit does, and they show up to a team that we would have just a poor team that we really anticipated they would beat pretty easily after playing some really good teams tough. And they get blown
Yeah.
out of the water. One of the more Detroit things I've seen in a while. So,
Oh, no, not a shocker. Um, but I mean, like you brought it up offensively. Is there anything, even as a Lions fan, you would change? I mean, quite realistically, if this team finishes 7-10, 8-9, as a Lions fan, I feel like you should be happy. You
yeah,
go
they're
into the
ahead of
season
schedule.
expecting a couple wins. This offense, I think if you run it back with
Well,
this offense, is going to be fine. If you just focus this entire offseason on you bring
and you
in
know
a guy
what?
or two from free agency, you spend a lot of your high picks on defense, they're going to come back and they will make playoffs next
I
year.
think they've got the excitement too to attract some decent free agent prospects. They've got that
Absolutely.
young team, like, oh, maybe you get a
Right.
vet
Maybe
in there.
not
It's
an
like, oh, I
Odell,
want to
but
jump on,
yeah.
that
Like a
sort of
guy that's
thing.
gonna like make a difference, like is playing to play, not a guy that's coming for the city or the money or anything like
No,
that.
he's playing
You're
to
looking for
win, and
football players,
and
right?
he
You're looking
sees
for a
the
guy who's
potential
going
to
to
win.
get a ring. Yep.
And look, the reality is, I said that they were ahead of schedule. I think they're right on schedule. Actually, if you look
I
at the
would still say
preseason
ahead. I would
podcast,
still say
I
ahead.
don't know, man. I'm pretty sure we both said the preseason podcast 7. I think I said 7 to 9 wins, and you said like 5 to 8,
Price,
something
yeah,
like that.
around 6 or 7
And
was I was thinking.
look, this is right where I thought they'd be. They'd be an improvement from last year. They play some really tough teams, and they would just miss the playoffs. Is what I said. And look, I think they're still mathematically in it. They're going to have to beat Green Bay and
Oh yeah.
Minnesota, I believe. But I'd have to double check on that. But the other flip side of this coin, and we can sit here and talk bad about the Lions because they're such a hot topic. Oh, they got to beat the Bears and the Packers, which should
Bears
put
is
them
an easier
close at
one.
9-8. But the Panthers can win out, and they're in.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, this is one of the, if this happens, this is one of the better stories I've ever seen in the NFL because they just have had a horrible year. They trade their best
What do you
player
think Brady
midway.
does?
What do you mean?
Panthers win this division. They win. They, like you said, pretty much clean ship and still get in at, let's say, 7-10. And the Buccaneers miss. What does Tom Brady do?
Oh, he's gone. It doesn't matter what happens. He's gone.
You think he still plays, though, hey? You think he's like,
I think
I'm going to run
I
it
think
back?
I've said the whole year, ever since all the stuff came out about his divorce and whatnot, I've said the whole
Oh,
year.
yeah.
I think he's coming back, and I think he's got 2 or 3 left in him. We might be seeing the decline of him physically, but I really don't think that he is the problem in Tampa Bay this year. I think he's had some
I'd agree.
decent
Yeah,
throwing
he's
games. I think
shown
he's
me.
still a very
Yeah.
competent and good quarterback. And if he's always been this is the hot take of the century, but he's always been a product of where he's played and good defenses. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
he's going to go somewhere and be smart and try and legacy pad and grab number 8. But I got to be honest, I think the Panthers are going to do this. They got to play. Let me pull up their schedule, but they got to play the Bucks this week, and I think that's going to be the deciding factor.
That will decide the division.
They've got
And
the
whatever
Bucks
they got
and the
week
Saints.
18. Yeah, Saints, like, if they beat the Bucks, it's like, all right, they should beat the Saints. You know what I mean? I think this coming week is probably going to decide their fate. Nonetheless, when you have that much turmoil, I mean, you don't know who your quarterback is week to week, let alone head coach. I don't want to say I like what I see from the Panthers, but I don't think they're as screwed as a lot of these teams
Well, they
bottom
did.
barrel
They
are.
didn't blow it up. That's the thing. They really
Right.
just
They still
offloaded.
got talent,
They offloaded Christian McCaffrey's contract. They don't have a
which
quarterback
made sense.
situation, right? They
Paying a
did
running
not
back over
move
20
Sam
million is a
Burns.
lot.
They did not move Sam Burns or Jeremy Chin. They kept
Brian
DJ
Burns, but
Moore,
yeah.
Brian Burns. Who's Sam Burns? Is that a singer or something?
There's Sam Franklin, but no, don't even trip.
Sam
Well,
Burns.
that
Sam
defense
Burns
is
is a
locked
Sam
down.
Burns. He's a golfer. Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, Brian Burns, they kept him. They did they're not in a bad spot. They are, I don't know where, I don't know. I think they're overperforming this year, but they're not bad. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
They
They're
pretty
a
much are
coach
going
away.
into next. They're basically in my eyes, before any of the Tyreek Hill trade or whatever, they're like the Dolphins at the end of last year. Like they got guys,
Yeah, but I don't
but
think
as a
DJ
team,
Moore
they don't scare
is.
you as a team. Like you're not like this
They're
is gonna blow our wheels off. They got a lot of work to do. They got to
they
get
are a
a
head
coach.
coach away.
Right. They got to get a really head coach. Like they probably could use a decent signing or two, a decent draft. I think this team is right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's to see them knock off the Lions. I know both of us were unexpecting it considering the Lions' track record coming in.
Well, they're the hottest
But
team in
like you
football.
said, yeah, I mean it's the hottest team in football, but also typical Lions. So I guess the typical Lions, MO historically just won out. We'll see what these last two games kind of have in store for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, hey, good for Sam and the Panthers, man. They're
Yeah.
still better than the Falcons at this point, which even as annoying as the Falcons were for me to pick this beginning of the season, they look better than them right now. So
Yeah. And that takes us to That takes us to Seahawks Chiefs. I don't really have much to say here. This is about what we expected. Seahawks are
yeah,
perhaps the coldest team in football. And the
yeah,
Chiefs are
good
just
grief,
good.
man.
The Seahawks
Or
have
are they like
lost three
7-2,
straight.
7-3 at one point? Wow.
Yeah, they have lost three straight. They beat the Rams by 4, and then before that, they lost another 2 straight. So one out of their last 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6.
And your best win is against the Rams. That's not ideal either.
Yeah. So Chiefs are, trying to get that 1 seed from the Bills. We'll see if it can happen, but it's looking pretty good for the Bills, if you ask me. And we could talk about that a little bit more on Thursday. But yeah, I don't have much to add here. The Chiefs are really good. Mahomes, we can have an MVP discussion, but
I mean, he's the favorite right now.
I
In
think
terms
he's
of
the
betting
favorite,
odds, he's currently the favorite. If Hurts doesn't appear the rest of this year, it's not his fault. But I mean, it's
I think
MVP.
that
You know how those things go.
Yeah, I think it's dumb. That's the quarterback going to award. If you ask me, I think the MVP's the real MVP, the real most valuable player is Justin Jefferson or Tyreek Hill this year. Whoever ends up winning the receiving yards race, which right now it's looking like Jefferson. I'm just gonna be brutally honest. That's how I feel about the award.
I would have to look through it. I really would.
In
a
year where there really isn't a quarterback that stands out. Look, it's going to be Mahomes and Allen are probably going to be the
finalists. That's the thing. Mahomes doesn't stand out. Why? Because
his numbers are not 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns, right? No.
Let me do some research.
I'll pull up the numbers. Don't you worry about
it. Because here's my thing. I really love what the running back, wide receiver. I totally agree with you. This idea that the quarterback award / MVP award, it should be changed. Okay. But currently in the regular season, Mahomes has 4,700 yards. All right. So 4,700.
He might throw for 5,000.
Exactly. With 37 touchdowns, I'm assuming he's in eclipse 40. I love Justin Jefferson. I really do. I would need over 2,000 with close to 20 touchdowns, and then we're comparing. But my issue with that is, oh my God, I hate doing this thing of like, let's just switch the two guys, right? Because Mahomes on the Vikings without Justin Jefferson probably wouldn't do a whole lot. But then you flip Justin Jefferson to the Chiefs without Mahomes. They don't do a whole lot.
Well, that's just because
It's a very
my problem is
it's a
more so
dicey
just
road.
I don't like how it's like the Heisman almost. The Heisman's better at it, but I just don't like how we can never consider a non-quarterback for the MVP. I think it's stupid. I'm just going to be brutally honest.
It is really hard because they essentially have to have a historic season, which I would not agree is fair either.
Okay, then
I really don't.
As a Packers fan, Cooper Kupp should have beat Aaron Rodgers last year. I mean, that's a genuine. If we're going to talk about that, like Aaron Rodgers had a great year. Don't get me wrong, won 13 games and threw for probably a bunch of touchdowns and no interceptions.
Wasn't something we hadn't seen before though, and Cooper Kupp almost had 2,000 yards,
and he had the Triple Crown.
And and it's not like he was getting the ball from Aaron Rodgers; it was from Stafford. And it's that. Keep in mind, Rodgers did have Devontae Adams last year, so with all of these in accounts,
for that reason,
it's hard for me to disagree with you. It's just so hard to put a standing on the value of some of these guys. It really is.
I agree because for the Cooper Kupp reason alone, I know they're not going to give the award to a non-quarterback. Sorry, I'm trying to think of what I was going to say. I know they're not going to give the award to a non-quarterback this year. So I think it's very just like I just think it's dumb. There's nothing I can do to change about it, and that's just the way they're trending to a best quarterback award and a best everybody else award. But I think that running backs have won it in the past. Justin Jefferson, if he breaks the receiving record, I mean,
he'll get Offensive Player of the Year.
How good are the Vikings without Justin Jefferson? Not good at all, if you ask me. Justin Jefferson is the Minnesota Vikings, right? Those Mike Zimmer teams and whatnot. Their identity was tough defense
and Justin Jefferson.
No, but I'm talking about before Jefferson got there, right? That tough Harrison Smith, Case Keenum, decent Diggs and Thielen years, but tough defense was their mantra, their identity. Now their identity is literally just Justin Jefferson gritting in the end zone on everybody they play, which is not a bad place to be. They're winning more games than they used to, but it's it's just like, dude, these guys would be a bottom tier team. They'd be a borderline. I mean, they'd be struggling to make the playoffs. They'd be like the Lions, in my opinion, without Justin Jefferson. And that defense would be horrible. You know how bad they would be without Jefferson? I mean, seriously, that defense is they'd be in a rebuild without that guy. That's
absolutely.
And so for that reason alone, I think he's the MVP. And look at what Tyreek Hill has done. You can make the case there too. He took a bad team and turned him into I think his case has fallen off as they've continued to lose more games, but he almost turned him into a number one AFC seed, So
absolutely. Yeah. The case is there. No doubt.
It's a little bit of a rant, and we can move on to the Chiefs and Browns or the Saints and Browns, but it's just, I think Mahomes is.
It needs to be looked at more. It really does, because we just kind of lock in these quarterbacks as the winners for MVP, the next best guy, or even the best guy, but they're not a quarterback, just gets defaulted as Offensive Player of the Year. And if that's how we want to do things, all right. Make a statement, whatever, NFL. It is what it is. But I have to agree with you. I really enjoy it. I would agree that even Tyreek Hill, even seeing the Packers play today, it was like they weren't winning because of Tua at times. They obviously didn't win the game, but they were not at times winning that football game because of Tua. It was what they got around them. And so I really think that award needs to be reevaluated as well. But you brought it up because we had a lot of very good games this weekend. I heard Browns. I heard, was it Steelers?
The Saints. They lost to the Saints.
Saints? Yeah, I know it was low scoring.
17-10.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I think that Stefanski's job is starting to get on. He's starting to approach the hot seat, in my opinion. I've seen some.
It'll get looked at next year. I think it'll get looked at next year.
This year, but I've seen some disgruntled Browns fans, and I think the reality is true. If they'd have just rolled with Brissett all year and not traded for Deshaun Watson and kept all their assets, they'd be in a really good place. And so I know that's not Stefanski's decision, but
it's possible. We'll really have to see what happens next year, because Watson's going to get a full season. They won last week's game. Watson had a rush touchdown. I don't know how they got the second.
Yeah,
I
I
hear
have
what
to
you're
agree.
saying. I do. I would just like to see as a fan. And I'm not a fan of Deshaun Watson. That's not what I'm saying. I would just like to see what happens next year. If the Browns with Deshaun Watson are still a playoff team, if they are below the average bar, if you will, if they could look better with Jacoby Brissett, then I would say, yeah, get Stefanski out of there, get a whole new regime in there in terms of management. I mean, this has been, we look at the Browns, this team has been kind of crap, but the past couple of years, they're trading out the wazoo. Like Jarvis Landry's gone,
Yeah,
Odell's gets brought in
it's a
and then
fair
gone.
take.
Sean Watson's brought in. Like this team is making moves crazy, like all the time. And I'm not really sold that this group they got is going to get anything done next year. Even with Stefanski, even with the full offseason, they'll probably be a playoff team. But do you really think this Browns team, think about any acquisition or draft they can make, he's going to surpass the Bills, the Chiefs, the Bengals? I would have to disagree. I don't really care who they bring in.
I think they could be a
And if
wild
you
card
make the
team
case, I'd
next year.
hear it. But yeah, I don't love it. I think regardless of how well they do, so it sucks to be in that position. But I really think the Browns are gonna have to make some changes. They're just
I agree.
not as good as people in front of them.
I agree. And for the Saints, man, I picked them. I picked them to win the game. It's a toss up. I don't think they're going to come out of this division this way. I think it's Panthers Buccaneers. They could. I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't think it's the likeliest scenario.
No, they got a lot of work to do as well next year.
Yeah,
Finding a
yeah.
real coach that's not completely a
I think
defensive
that
coordinator would help.
I think that they are in a really tricky situation because they've got some really nice assets on offense. Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, and part of you wants to think that they're a quarterback away, but their defense is really old, man. And I
Yeah, and
think
it's
that
not that
this
great.
year, I think that this year they thought that they could maybe get one more year out of like prime Cameron Jordan and
Yeah,
a number of other guys there, and Tyron Matthews starting to approach that age, right? And I just thought that it kind of felt like they could run it back, maybe get one more year and have a good season with a mediocre quarterback play, and it's just not the case. And
no,
Dennis Allen, I'm not sold on. I'm not sold out on either, but I think that they're
he's
going
a
to go through a
defensive
couple.
guy.
They're going to go through a couple of years here where they start to struggle, in my opinion, because they just got to rebuild the roster up a little bit. But
No doubt.
yeah, I'm going to skip over. I don't really have much else to add. Texans Titans. I feel like we kind of already talked about it.
No, I
you
just I
know,
made a great call. It worked, but at the end of the day, both these teams are not trending upwards. I mean, the
yeah,
Texans are going to be in that first slot for the draft this year for a reason. They got a win that at this point in the year was predictable. Titans were falling off. I don't think at this point we both agree they're going to miss the playoffs. I want to say it's surprising because yeah, I picked the complete odds off favorite. Like I don't think Texans.
no, it was
I don't think they're
good
single
snipe,
digit
man.
favorites. Yeah,
Good
I'm glad I
snipe.
took it. But in terms of like what it does for the NFL season, I mean, what does it really do? The Texans are
Nothing.
still in their spot. Titans are just gifting the Jags more. I don't have a lot to add.
Yeah.
Other than if you really want to hear my analysis, go check last week's episode.
That's really true. That's a really good point. The Bengals have now won, I believe, 8 straight.
Yeah,
They
they're
barely. This was
killing
the
it.
closest it's
They're
been,
killing
man.
it.
But they won a close game against Patriots, 22-18. I don't know. They just couldn't put them away. I don't have much to add here. They just win games, man. Burrow throws for nearly 400 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 picks, but um, look, they're just so good on offense and so good on defense. And I'm really starting to think they're when we do our playoff preview, I'm really leaning towards them as my AFC Super Bowl favorite. They're just so hot. And everybody likes to think that, when a team gets this hot, they start to cool off, right? They can't stay that hot for that long. They literally did this last year. They literally did this
Yeah,
last year, and they just rolled right through the playoffs. And so I don't have much to add. Patriots season is over. That's all what I have to add to that. You can thank Jacoby Myers for that, which
I would agree. And this is where we're going to pivot because this game doesn't need a whole lot of, I mean, a 22-18 game, just even that odd score alone will tell you it was a nail
Scorigami.
biter. It was close, right? Yeah, scoregami. We love it. But listen, in terms of the best teams, you think of these contenders and whatnot, like the Bengals come to mind, the Chiefs, Bills. You find a way to win. And as a Packers fan, even as the look at the Vikings, right? Like just winning games is valuable. And especially this year in the NFL, as simple and stupid as that sounds, oh yeah, winning games. But you got to hear me out in the sense that like in years past, we would come in, be like, yeah, these are the favorites. Like we knew the Patriots were going to continue their dynasty. Like the Colts, Peyton Manning, like you just knew teams that were going to be good. And it seems like year to year, it gets more and more difficult to, predict these teams that, I mean, I'm not going to put you on blast, be it the Packers and Colts in your Super Bowl. I had the Packers in my Super Bowl. And yeah, part of it was bias, but part of it is even seeing what they did this week. And it's like, well, geez, they're not that far off. But it's these little mistakes, these executions on special teams, these late game things. If Packers would just finish the job against the Jets with Zach Wilson, I may weigh it, the Giants, the Commanders, like
Commanders.
one of those games makes a huge deal. And even look at the Seahawks at this case, the Dolphins, who have lost 3 or 4 straight. Like this has been a crazy year. I think people really need to understand the depth of what one win in the NFL carries in a 16 game schedule than when we're talking about like NBA, where it's an 82 game season. You can lose 3 or 4 straight and you're cool because in terms of mathematically, that's like losing one NFL game. And so when teams go on 3 or 4 game losing streaks in the NFL, it is quite literally detrimental. But I also want to say like this team is dead and written for the rest of time. Oh, like a lot of these teams I think are going to come back next year. Obviously, I have the Packers bias, but like we saw a lot of good things out of the Falcons this year. That really the entire NFC East. Um, Buccaneers, I don't really want to touch, but
Yeah.
like the Panthers, we say a quarterback away. If they have a mediocre quarterback, that team is probably going to skimp into the playoffs. Like I just think personally is a very interesting year, and I don't want people to just glaze over it and be like, it's one of those years that's we knew the good teams were going to get it. The Saints Colts years or Brady years or even like the Cavs Warriors. Like you know what I'm talking about in the sense like the year was
Yeah.
predictable and this year was so unpredictable. Even at this point, we bring up the Bengals and these hot teams. I can't tell you with confidence, and I wouldn't put
No,
any
I mean the
money or
year is
anything on it
unpredictable.
on who's going to make it.
The defending Super Bowl champs are 5-10.
Yeah, like they're not even close. They got Baker Mayfield at quarterback, who going into the year, we're like, oh, is this guy gonna bring the Panthers to the promised land? Like this has just been an extremely wacky year,
Yeah.
and no, I just need to be prefaced,
So
and
I have a
we can
question
obviously keep
then.
going.
I have a question then. You're
Yeah,
putting a lot of emphasis. I'm going to back you into a corner here, so don't be mad. You're putting a lot
that's
of
okay.
emphasis on winning and winning culture and what you said. Like that's how you win, right? You just find ways to win close games, all this stuff.
It's
Well, no
important. Yeah,
team in the NFL, it might even be NFL history, has won more one possession games in a season than the Minnesota Vikings.
oh crap! I was hoping you wouldn't. This year, what is the longevity of that? I know this year.
Hey,
If you had
it's a
the
new
longevity
franchise
stats,
though, right? You can start a culture from anywhere.
they're not new. They've been in it since Super Bowl 7.
New head coach, new front office, new everything, right? New everything, new culture. You can't say that's not fair when the Bengals have been a historically losing franchise, and now they're all of a sudden after one season this staple of the AFC contenders, right? Things can change like that in the NFL, and you would agree. So I think that you got to double down, man. You got to double down and say that the Vikings are real contenders then because they find ways to win games, 60-yarders, come back 33-0. I mean, they're a fun team to watch, man. They are a freaking fun team to watch. And having Justin Jefferson on my fantasy team makes probably them a little bit more fun to watch for me. But they are a fun team to watch. They win close games. And we both think they're frauds. Maybe not fully frauds. And you can't win. How many times can you win 12 games?
That's where I was gonna stop you. That's where I was gonna. We'd have to go back and look at the episodes, the takes and whatnot.
The receipts.
I don't think I've been completely out on the Vikings. I would have to, but like mentally, I'm thinking of what I've
Oh,
said on the show. I don't
I'm
think
sorry, man.
I
We
think
have both
I have
said they're
called out
not winning a
Kirk.
playoff game.
Oh, no. I've said they're not going to win a conference championship game, and I don't think they'll represent the NFC. I know that is what I will stand by even to this
I
day,
know I was a little bit stronger than you.
because
I said they're not.
that is a personnel thing. That is not a Vikings, mathematically like what other teams are doing this year. That is a I don't trust Kirk Cousins in any instance. Go against the best NFC team, beat them in prime time, and then go play the AFC winner. I just don't see it. I think they could get there, but like that is, I will stand on that. And if that's what's getting doubted, so be it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I will stand on that hill. I will. But I knew this team with Justin Jefferson, talent they have. I was not doubting playoffs. I mean, they got it clinched. But I mean, if we're gonna, push back on the idea that I don't think teams go very far, I think they get a win just due to seeding. I just don't think they're going to get to that conference championship. I don't care who it is.
Interesting.
Cowboys,
I just
Eagles,
think it's
49ers.
interesting, man,
They're
when
going
it
to get
comes to
crapped on.
winning.
And
When it comes
if they
to winning
lose, that's on me.
culture, when it comes to winning culture, it all
You
matters.
think Kirk Cousins is a stem of winning culture?
All you
If
were
that's,
saying, all you said applies directly to the Vikings, and you go the other
I
way.
think applies more to the 49ers with Kyle Shanahan. I think the fact that they can win with whoever is a huge deal. They make
Honestly,
trades, they have
dude,
injuries.
honestly,
Doesn't matter.
when it comes to the Vikings this week against the Giants, man, I picked them to win because I think the Giants are bigger frauds than they are. But um, I kind of had a moment, man, when Corey Joseph put that thing through the. Is it Corey or Greg Joseph? I don't know.
Greg.
Greg
It's
Joseph.
Greg
I'm really
Joseph.
messing up the names today.
No worries, man.
Greg Joseph put that thing through the 60 yarder through.
$61, yeah.
At some point, man, you got to look yourself in the mirror, right? As a football fan, and be like, "Am I wrong? Am I wrong?" Because they win so many close games. I don't think I'm wrong. I don't. I swear. But I'm just trying to make a case here because they win so many close games, and that's like the number one thing I always say when it comes to like who's going to win a championship. They know how to win games. They know how to do it, and this team is so freaking good at doing this. But then they do things like show up against the Cowboys and lose 37-3, and they lose by 3 scores to the Eagles. And it's like, no, they can't. They can't do it. They don't have the personnel. But man, I'm just glad I'm not a Vikings fan because this emotional roller coaster that they've gone through and that they're about to go through is absolutely insanity, man. I mean, it's at some point I need to look in the mirror though and say, man, there's a chance I could be wrong. And that was this week. And I want that to be put on tape because I will say, I'm sticking to my guns. I'm not changing my take. I don't think they're winning a playoff game. But, I said getting out of the divisional round. I did say that. They might win a wild card game depending on who if they play the Panthers, they'll beat the Panthers. But they're not getting past the divisional round. But man, I could be wrong.
Yeah, could have, should have, would have. I'm glad you got it on tape, but I'm going to stand by. If you really want to go out on the limb and say that Kirk,
I'm not trying to cop myself out, right? In case
no, you say it straight up with the Lakers. I was like, yeah, AD's out for the month. Yeah, I'm changing my take. But like in terms of the Vikings, this is the team we know what's going in. If you really think Kirk Cousins and be the dude that's going to get this team to the Super Bowl, I'm not going to stand in the way of that. I got to be honest, if that's what you want to go with.
What more does Kirk Cousins need to do for us to actually start to respect this guy?
Beat teams that are better in his respective conference. He didn't beat the Eagles, didn't beat the Cowboys. They haven't seen the 49ers yet.
That's fair. That's a fair take.
I mean, it sucks to be in a position, but I'm sorry. Most people that I give the benefit of the doubt to, I've seen some hope or let's just be real. To give them that benefit of the doubt.
Can we just be real for a second? The only reason that both of us are down on the Cowboys
is past.
It's the eye test, man. It's the eye test.
On top of the past, yeah. Like, I'm sorry, you've seen with the Redskins at time, Commanders, whatever the hell you want to call it. I'm sorry, just seeing Kirk Cousins. He is a pocket passer. If he doesn't have the talent around him in terms of a Justin Jefferson, who is a historical S tier one receiver, and then Adam Thielen, who could be a number one receiver on some garbage teams right now. And then you got KJ Osborne, who's been all right, but then they traded for Hawk. They still got Dalvin Cook and
Freaking
Alexander Madison in the
Hawkinson too.
backfield.
I'm still mad
Like
about that for fantasy
that's what I'm
frenzy.
saying. This is a team that Kirk Cousins has no excuses, and I have no reason this year
And
to
you know
go
what?
on a
He's
limb and
performing. He's
defend
having
him.
a career year.
And he is. And you know what? If he gets to the Super Bowl, then I'll be wrong. But I will. There's people you don't get bet. You don't bet against, right? Like Tom Brady, Michael Jordan, Aaron Rodgers, yada yada yada. I'll bet against Kirk Cousins, and I'll do it with confidence. If I'm wrong this year, you can put me on blast in the show. You can bring on whoever. I'll eat that one. I will eat that bullet up. I don't care.
Respect it.
But I am not going to go out on a limb and be like, yeah, Kirk Cousins is going to do that brings the Vikings to the Super Bowl. I don't care if they got Moss and Justin Jefferson. I think they still find a way to screw it up.
I respect it, man. It's just, and I have to agree. Like I said, I'm sticking to my take. They're not coming out of the divisional round. But, man, they are really good at winning close football games.
Regular season wise, yeah, you don't see a reason to not pick them, but I'm looking at literally every season before this one.
I want to read some numbers to you. Okay. I want to read some numbers to you. Okay.
I'll hear
2021. This is a quarterback. Okay. I want you to guess the player. 2021 team overall record or record in their starts is 4-7. 64% completion percentage, 2,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions on the season. Started 11 games. 2022 started 15 games. The team, I'm not going to give the record because I might give it away, but vast improvements to 13 touchdowns, 3,000 yards, and just 5 interceptions. A career low in interception percentage.
Heineke?
Daniel Jones.
Really? Danny Dimes, eh?
A career low in, I didn't go to the rushing yards because I felt like it might go away, but career low. Yeah, but
what are you really trying to say in this one? What are you?
I'm trying to say that I'm sick of. I think they need to run with him, man. He is improving. He is not turning the ball over. He's a top-ish running the ball quarterback, and they have, much like many of the other teams that we say, like the Lions and whatnot, they have way worse issues on their roster than Daniel Jones.
And I'm going to concur, but you love the idea that after 14 games, your starting quarterback has 13 passing touchdowns.
I think that is an extreme product of the receivers.
I think it's something.
I'm more so in love with the idea of 5 interceptions and
14, 15 games. That is very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's every couple games you're throwing a pick. That's
66%, career high 66% completion percentage when he's throwing to nobody, dude. He's throwing to
Absolutely. Nobody. Absolutely. Yeah, James and Slayton and whoever. I'm not gonna disagree with that. I definitely
career high passer rating, career high QBR, and what will be a career high sacks.
Yeah, they
just got to bring in pressure. He's still performing at his best ever.
Yeah, it really is need to bring in anybody at this point. The Giants in terms of, I like their line. I like their running back situation. If you like Daniel Jones, you like Daniel Jones. But their tight end their situation right now is not great. Maybe they have some internal development. Even they have some internal development wide receiver wise. Both those positions could use a lot of revamping. Both currently in the NFL are ranked in the bottom 5. I think you give that a go and see what Daniel Jones does for you. I believe this year it's his 5th year option. Like this year, if they pick it up, it'll be his 5th year. I believe you just take that and see what happens. But I wouldn't sign. And it's not that I hate Daniel Jones. I'm seeing what you're seeing. But I'm also not seeing this guy is, worthy of a long-term guaranteed money contract. I would have to see a bit more. And
I don't think I'm saying that. I'm not saying that you need to pay him a bunch. Maybe what I'm saying is you extend him. Hearing. You extend him now. There's improvement, so it's got to be interesting.
If he'll take it, yeah.
I just think that there's vast improvement, and I think that he could go somewhere and be really good. He could go to Detroit and be incredible.
No doubt. If they move off Goff, I think they'll stay with them.
I think they'll stay with Goff,
I
and I
will.
think that
But
they're
like
equivalent.
Daniel Jones and the Jets, is that
Oh,
not a
he'd be.
playoff team?
Oh, he'd be. It's a 10-win team.
You know what I mean?
Like I said, if you had
Right?
anybody in the Jets besides Zach Wilson, it's a 10-win team.
Right. So that's where I think it needs to be really looked at and delved into. Is he is not hurting his team, and let alone he's actually kind of benefiting his team, especially the Giants the way they are playing this year.
I think he's the reason for their success. That game against the Packers, dude. That's like he was freaking incredible.
No, and I'll give you that, because actually watching him against the Vikings, they didn't win that game, but I mean it was quite literally a field goal win, and he was making some great throws to nobody. Like, literally nobody.
They know their
identity. If you want to tell me you thought Richie James was going to be a number one receiver,
yeah,
talk to me. Like, talk to me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm pretty high on Wan'Dale Robinson. Tore his ACL. He's going to come back. I think they can make some other moves, get some other guys.
Right.
Big market, pay some guys some money, get rid of Kenny Golladay. I don't care if you have to just straight up cut him. It's just
anything.
Yeah. But that takes us Bills Bears. I have no comments here. This is exactly what we would expect would happen.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a little bit closer, but 35-13.
The Bears just have no. Well, the Bills did score with like 8 seconds left or something. It was stupid,
and that's fine. But even then, the Bears just all day looked like a team that wanted that second pick, and good for them in doing so. Don't try and play for anything this year. You had nothing.
Yeah,
you got 2 more weeks.
Yeah. All right, that takes us. I have a little bit to talk about here. The 49ers and the Commanders, man. I have a question. Who's your offensive rookie of the year?
You're going to bring up Dotson, aren't you?
No.
Okay. No, I mean, in terms of my offensive rookie,
the Niners are undefeated. I'll go first. The Niners are undefeated with Brock Purdy at the helm.
I understand that, but Garrett Wilson has played all season.
He's going to have double-digit touchdowns.
Yeah, and listen, I love Brock Purdy. I do. It's just Garrett Wilson has played all season with quite literally 4 different people now at quarterback. And
I think Garrett Wilson's probably the right pick.
He's the lead dog. If Brock Purdy finishes these last 2 games with like 300 yards, multi-TDs,
I don't think that Garrett Wilson has as many touchdowns as Christian Watson. He doesn't.
No, not in terms of that. But
I'm just saying he's not leading. He's not leading rookies in key statistical categories where Purdy is. Does that make sense?
No, I'd have to look at the yards and catches. I feel like Garrett Wilson's close, but
Garrett Wilson, I just looked it up. He's got 4 touchdowns.
It's not that I'm not hearing
996 receiving yards and 71 receptions.
He's close to 1,000.
I do want to pull up Christian Watson's because he's probably the wide receiver.
He's not at 1,000, but I know his touchdowns are way over than 4. So that's what you're kind of looking at. In terms of Brock Purdy and his production, again, if you want to go out of your way and say he's the rookie of the year, if we're just looking at numbers,
no, I'm just starting a discussion.
At the end of the season. It's a discussion. Personally, I don't love it.
I think it's Garrett Wilson.
Noticed. Yeah, and I've noticed what Jimmy G does with that team. I've noticed what they even did with Nick Mullins. Like, the 49ers are the 49ers. We know what this team is. We know they're not a deep threat team. You don't need an elite quarterback to win. You could win with, honestly, a below average quarterback. And I love what Brock Purdy's doing. He's been above average, but giving him rookie of the year would almost seem kind of, I don't want to say disrespectful, but for a guy like Garrett Wilson's been playing with the Jets all season, and you don't even know who your quarterback is week to week, and you're still going to go over 1,000 yards. Yeah, I really love Garrett Wilson, but I'm here for the Brock Purdy case. I really am.
I'm just starting a discussion, man. If they run it out, win out the rest of the season, just throwing ideas. I think Garrett Wilson's the favorite.
It's entertaining.
Just throwing out ideas. As for the Commanders, I got to be brutally honest, man. I think their season's over. They could win.
They'll finish 8-1.
Yeah, I think that's
miss.
They're going to beat the Browns and lose to the Cowboys.
You think Ron Rivera still has a job after the season? That's been my biggest thing.
Yes, I do.
Such an interesting team. Such a young team, but they have an old coach. So
here's why. I don't think they have a stellar roster. Ron Rivera has been really in a very, and not to talk about other things off the field, but in a very trying time of transition for this franchise the past few years, right?
Yeah.
All the controversy. I think they're finally selling the team. He's been a very standstill cornerstone of what really on the field hasn't been that poor of play the last 5 years.
No.
For what the products that they have put on the field and the people that they brought in and they're not that great on paper, and they overperform almost every year to my expectations and to relative expectations. And look, if they were 1-4, they're going to finish 8-1, like you said. They could make the playoffs depending on what happens. If the Packers go lose, I don't know the Detroit scenarios and all that, all this stuff. But, I got to be honest. Yes, I think he has a job next year. I think he's the only reason that they didn't win. They won more than 3 games.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I'd have to agree.
Him and Heineken.
I think he's a great coach. I know a lot of people are looking at it like this is a younger roster. This is a dude that's been around the NFL for a long time. Who's to blame?
I don't think they're going to make it.
I really think they kind of go hand in hand. I really think they do
either. It just seems like a weird. You know what I'm saying? Like it just.
No,
just like,
you got
who's
more
making
important
that
matters.
Yeah, like who's making that decision? Like unless you're awful, like the GM could fire the coach and then get fired himself as soon as new ownership shows up, right? So it's just
right.
Maybe if they
worry about it next year type of deal.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. I don't think you need to worry about it right
just
now.
Just an outside the box way of looking at it. But okay, we got to keep it moving a little bit. But Eagles Cowboys, man, I had the Eagles and I'm pretty satisfied with that pick, man. They played it pretty.
I would give it to you. That was a great pick. You didn't get the pick, but and granted, it's a high scoring game. I don't want to say out of character. It's a division game, so
I almost think it's better. Almost think it's better for the Eagles that they lost this game. Gonna be honest, if they'd have beaten the Cowboys twice and then played them a third time, and then beat them with a backup quarterback. I think the Cowboys might have a chance to snag him in the playoffs just because it's a weird, freaky division matchup type of thing. But
thoughts on the MVP case for Jalen Hurts? That's all I hear about.
If he doesn't play again, no, he can't. He can't win it. But
immediate reaction after this game.
You're looking at the Noah. I am. The Jalen Hurts ship is my Noah's Ark, man. I built that from scratch. Okay, let's go check the receipts. It was week 3, I believe, and I said he was playing like a top 3 quarterback in this league. And here we are talking about the MVP case. So, however, as much as I'd love to run the victory lap, if he doesn't play again, I don't think he can win it.
But my general, we saw Minshew and how close he got to beating the Cowboys, who are one of the best teams in the NFC, with this Eagles roster. Does that hurt the MVP case?
No, because they lost because Minshew turned the ball over twice.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very fair. It's been going around Twitter.
Hurts
I'm not
brings
saying I agree with it.
He's the best running quarterback in the league. And let me explain that, because obviously Lamar is a better runner. Obviously Justin Fields is a better runner. But
we're saying running quarterback. Yes, what Jalen Hurts brings, and Lamar's pretty good at throwing the ball too, and Fields will get there when he has the weapons. But what Jalen Hurts brings is such a good pocket poise, such a good the running. It's like the peak of his secondary threat. He's going to just destroy you throwing the ball. And that's been the difference with A.J. Brown this year. He didn't have that last year. He has completely taken that step. They will go deep anywhere, all 9 zones on the field, anywhere you want. Deep middle, deep left, deep right, short, medium, whatever. He's going to find his guys, and he's going to shred you. That's the step that Jalen Hurts took this year from the pocket, okay? He still has that threat outside of the pocket when the play breaks down. It's almost like a better, faster, quicker version of a 25 to 35-year-old Aaron Rodgers. That's what I'm getting. Oh, okay.
Not quite the same freakish arm talent, but that threat to just extend the play and
Yeah.
Hurts will take off more than Rodgers did, but the threat to just extend the play whenever is so freaking deadly. And that's why they lost. They didn't have that. Minshew doesn't bring that to the same extent. Minshew's a great backup quarterback. Then he went in there slugging for 350 yards. Devonta Smith won me a semifinal matchup. Like, I love it, man. I love it. He was great. Minshew Mania, always been a fan. Don't know why they moved off him so quick. They got T-Loss, so, it worked out. But the reality is, I think that if Hurts plays, they win this game, and they might end up going 15-1 or 16-1, and then you probably have to get him MVP,
right?
Because they're going 16-1. And the other aspect of this too, this is just a very niche, like, nuanced take when it comes to Jalen Hurts' value. But I'm pretty sure he's like 100% success rate on QB sneaks because he squats like 700 pounds. The guy is so freaking strong, and nobody's been able to stop it all year. If they get it, it's like Madden 15 or 16, whatever year that was. If you get it to the 1 yard line, you're scoring.
Just QB sneak that.
QB sneak touchdown every single time. You cannot stop it. It's a broken in the code. That's how I feel about Jalen Hurts at this point. 4th and 1, 4th and goal, whatever, 1st and goal on the 1, whatever it is. That value is it's invaluable.
It's unreal.
You cannot put a price tag on it. And if he plays, I think he wins the MVP, but he's not going to finish out the year. I think it goes to Mahomes or Allen, depending on these last few games.
No, I hear that 100%. And honestly, if he doesn't get it this year, he will get it next year.
I don't want to say that. I can never say something like that. But yes,
that's fair. That's fair. But no, we'll keep it rolling because hey, I mean, Minshew Mania is he's a great guy, great quarterback. But
yeah. All right. So can we just do something? We do this pretty often on this podcast, but can we just laugh at the Raiders, man?
Oh, I've been laughing. I mean, when you think they're gonna win, they lose. Man. When you think they're gonna lose, they find
I do
want
to say, Devontae Adams almost cost me a huge semifinal matchup this week, but I ended up clutching by 0.5 points because James Conner fell short of beating me, which was probably the biggest sweat of my life in fantasy football. But
I would have thought.
Derek Carr, 3 interceptions, just. I mean, are the Steelers going to finish 9-8, man?
It's so Tomlin-esque. Like,
got the Ravens, which you never know with Steelers Ravens. They're not the favorite.
Right.
You never know.
Even if they have Lamar, you never know.
And the Browns.
Yeah. It might honestly be up to Tomlin at this point. I feel dumb almost taking the Raiders because it's like, Steelers don't look good. But it's like, it doesn't matter if the Raiders do look good. If Devontae came off a 200-yard day, their coach is Josh McDaniels. I'm not sold. I'm not sold any matchup they go into. And
did you see Josh Jacobs in the post game too?
What did he say?
He's so gone. He was like, I'm just sick of dealing with this every week. Like this
every week.
Yeah,
I don't blame him. He's like,
I'm sick of it. I don't. He basically said, I don't want to be here anymore.
I wouldn't want to be here.
And
either.
You know what? After they didn't take that 5th-year
on
option,
any other team,
and didn't take his 5th-year option, and the season he's had. Look, why does he have 15 carries? Like in a snow game. Like, he's been your stud all year. Like, I can sit here and complain about Devontae only having 2 catches. He had like 9 targets, and that's what I was more mad about. Was just them not connecting. So it's just like, man.
Teams can't get anything done. And we saw Hackett go this week. I don't think McDaniels will go. Yeah, victory lap. But that sucks for Raiders fans that you like financially can't afford to fire and hire a coach. I'll come coach that team.
Okay, Jeff Saturday.
Bruh, like, you don't have to. You give me like a couple, $100K, $200K. I'd do it.
I'll coach the team for free, man. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Like, you give me scraps. Like, it's not that hard. But no, you tie up $10 million a year in Gruden and whatever you pay McDaniels. Like, this is the end result. When I'll say you don't do your due diligence, but like they were just going with guys that were supposed to be guys, like John Gruden and his Gruden grinders, and this guy Mayock, his NFL Network. Like, these guys were supposed to be just gurus, And then you go, oh, that didn't work with the media personalities. Let's go with the guy that's an understudy, Belichick. Have you seen the receipts of Belichick understudies? Like,
Well, it's not
it's
even that.
just so
McDaniel's
annoying.
already failed in other places and had to go back to Belichick.
Right. He bailed on the Colts deal. It's like, it's so frustrating to see as not even like a seasoned, like, I am an NFL fan, but I am 21 years old. I am not somebody that's been down the block. I am not Al Davis and his Mark Davis. That's the kid. Like, how you are in charge of a multi-million-dollar franchise. Probably could sell it for a couple billion. And these are the decisions you're making. I mean, you could have saw his haircut
take, man.
Knew you would see
He's
that he's very
not
poor
capable of
decision
making
making.
decisions.
Yeah, and I know I'm not there either, but at least I'll put a bull on my head and buzz the rest. Like, I'm sorry, I can't stand that organization. I'm not saying I'm surprised by any of it, but it really makes us couch quarterbacks and whoever like, wow, we could probably do a better job just rolling dice or flipping coins for these decisions. I mean, it's brutal, but I digress.
Yeah, we can move on to we're starting to run out of time a little bit, but Tua turned the ball over. Finally, in my opinion, makes his first appearance of the year. And the reality is we could just skip to the end of the game. Matt LaFleur basically kicked the field goal to go up 6 and said, I think he's going to make a mistake.
And he did.
And he did. And he did. What a great day. What a great Christmas.
Oh, man. Tua turned the ball over. I couldn't use that one literally since the start of the season. Glad to have it roll off the tongue. Yeah. What is your thoughts? Because as a biased Packers fan, we win these next 2. We're in. Do we beat the Vikings? They play every game close. We have a shot. And the Lions are our last game. We'll see what happens. But in terms of like Dolphins, what you saw, I mean, I got to hear it, man.
I got to be honest. The Packers right now have more life than they've had all year. And I think that a lot of people are catching on to that. And I don't know what this team's capable of. Probably sneaking into the playoffs just to lose to the 49ers, if we're being real here. But I'm a little more concerned, to circle back to Tua a little bit, because I think I've come full circle on this one. Start of the year, I was a really big Tua fan. I thought he won a lot of games. He did, he got a lot of unnecessary hate.
He doesn't pass the eye test, brother.
Yeah, he's a very divisive player. Divisive player. And the reality is this, man. I think I've gone full circle. I'm on the other side. So I guess I've gone half circle. I've done a 180 because I don't think I'm not fully on the Tua hate train. I think he's above average quarterback by clearly, and he's got a very high upside. But I just think that his deep ball is not that stellar.
It actually hurts
very much a product of superstar wide receivers. I mean, I saw the clip on Twitter, Jalen Waddle's touchdown. It's like, what does Tua even do? And, he hits him in stride. He finds the right guy. And, sometimes that's all the quarterback needs to do when you got guys like that. So that's why I don't hold that against Tua, right? Right. I'm not the type of, those fantasy analysts. They're like, oh, if you take out the 50-yard touchdown, Jonathan Taylor, he really only scored 8 points. It's like, well, okay, why are we taking away something that a great player did, right? They used to do that with Tyreek Hill on TikTok all the time. It's like, dude, shut up. Like, he's just that good.
Yeah, it's what he is. He does every week. It's not a
So when it comes to Tua, the reason I say I'm on the other side of the coin now is I don't think he's holding the Dolphins back by any means. I think he's really been the perfect fit for them this year, but he's just not Justin Herbert. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not Josh Allen. He's not a game
without Tyreek Hill. What does he do? What does? Well,
we saw that he was about the same, in my opinion, but we thought he was better because he had, the difference is they weren't a playoff. They were borderline playoff team. And the difference is when he didn't have Tyreek Hill, we were like, oh man, he's overperformed. In my opinion, I was like, I'll speak for myself and just myself. Oh man, he's overperforming. He's just got this rookie Jalen Waddle. They're winning a lot of games. They've had all this turmoil with Brian Flores. Like, I kind of like that kid. Like, he's really stuck it out. Everybody hates him. Like, I respect him. He wins games. Yeah. Finds ways to win. And now they get Tyreek Hill. They win a lot of games. It's like, man.
Still seeing it. You're still seeing.
The Packers, it just really felt like the Packers kind of looked him in the eyes on that last drive and said, beat us. And he throws a pick like on the second or third play.
Right away, yeah.
And it was just like, wow, I kind of thought he was better than that. I really did. And
agreed.
I'm not here to hate on Tua. I still think he gets unnecessary hate. I say all those things, but there's just a clear. Let's shut up about the Tua's better than Herbert narratives, please.
Right. Yeah. No, he's the best of that mid tier you can really get. And hey, at least he's better than both of these guys that were on the Nickelodeon game. I mean, how much time do we really want to spend?
Before we move on, though, I do want to say Aaron Rodgers threw a throw in this game to Mercedes Lewis. I think it might be the best throw, the second or third best throw I've ever seen in my entire life.
It was great.
It was, if you haven't seen it, go look it up. He's running left with a guy in his face, and he just flicked it. He didn't. He just kind of like.
It's hard to explain.
It was like a jump
that
pass.
Great. Yeah, it doesn't seem like that great. It's a little flick, but like in terms of like as football player, like you watch the.
It's not like Mercedes Lewis was wide open.
Yeah, it's not an easy play to make. So, kudos to that. Not shocked. It's what A-Rod does, but glad to see.
But yeah, let's talk about Patrick Starr. Just absolutely going in on Russ, bro. Did you see the clip of him? He's like, "What?
It's an interception." It's like,
what was he cooking? And it's like, oh, whoever was, typing in the words.
Yeah, there was voicing.
Knew what they were doing.
Legendary. What did the Broncos even do at this point?
Fire their head coach. Thank God.
Glad they did it. Glad they did. I don't know the
Russ
term is.
Caught the bathroom. He's tied for the bathroom mark. Okay, we are tied.
Wow, 2 games.
12 touchdown passes, 12 bathrooms in his house. So,
better hope he doesn't have any more renovations coming. He's got 2 weeks left. If he has another bathroom in there, he's not going to get it. He just won't.
Yeah, man. If you're the Broncos, you're just nothing's changed, man. You're just screwed.
Yeah, but 51 points. I thought this defense was good, but then Cam Akers had a little Mbappe hat trick. I was like, okay. Yeah, I guess so. This guy wanted to get traded 2 weeks before the deadline, and now he's dropping a hat trick on a team that is supposed to be very good defensively. I understand the coach was on the way out, but I don't think any NFL fan, there's nothing really to say other than like this Broncos team has been quite literally a disaster piece. I don't think you could have asked for a worse season from them. So glad they can chalk it in. Good for Baker, not looking very bad. We'll see what his NFL future holds next season.
Yeah.
But
before we close, too, I want to say this about the Bucs game. I'm never going to count Brady out, but this is as far as I'm ever going to put him down in my life.
They won OT against Trace McSorley. They won an OT against the meme. I'm sorry, they got it. But they will be first out this year. If they get a win in the playoffs, I was just wrong. Yeah, like how in the world you win a game 19-16 when I'm sorry, the Cardinals were down to their third string. Like Trace McSorley was on that practice squad, and he currently was slotted in as a starter. I think Strevler was literally behind McSorley for a time, and then the Jets just claimed him. Like crazy week. Great that Brady does it again, but it was not impressive. I'm sorry. I'm just glad
we're on the same page. And that takes us to Monday night, which is Chargers Colts. We both have the Chargers, but you are 10-5 right now. I'm 9-6. Both have the Chargers, so you're gonna widen the gap.
I'll win by a game
with 2 to go in the regular season. We'll see how the playoffs shape out, but. I got to start making some moves, man, if I'm going to do this because I got blown out.
And you went a little risky this week. I thought you did. I thought you went a little risky this week, even some of the picks. So
to only lose by 1, I mean, shoot, if we grab, if I grab the Titans over the Texans, like or
it's that big brain,
But in terms of frenzy, I might have just sealed my fate. I got blown out. I scored 78 points. Got
Wow.
3 from Ramondre Stevenson, 4 from Stephon Diggs, and the big kicker was taking Mark Andrews and not T.J. Hawkinson. 78 to 136, and you still have Keenan Allen. So, yeah, not a great week for me. Justin Fields
Happy
put up
Bob.
9 points, so should be interesting to see the totals after that. But as always, guys, thanks for listening. Sorry we went a little long today, but we'll be back tomorrow with Luke for NBA Tuesday, and
Yeah.
yeah, we're looking forward to it. And we will be back Friday for our Week 16 predictions. I'll be traveling on Thursday, so Friday it is for Week 17. Sorry. And yeah, it's gonna be a hype Packers Vikings week, so should be fun. Be sure to check us out on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. And yeah, any closing thoughts?
That's all I got, man. Looking forward to tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Entertaining.
We'll catch you guys tomorrow.
Take care.